Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you back to another episode of the AM show. Today, I am really excited to bring you Janelle Dusi. She is going to talk to us about her vineyard, Dusi,
J Dusi wines, yeah.
J Dusi Wines. And I think that her story is just going to be really fascinating. And I'll be completely honest, I don't know the backstory. I did watch a couple of videos that explained her business, but I want to hear firsthand and for the first time, just like my listeners, about what I am pretty sure is going to be a really cool story. This is the AM show with arts music lawyer, where ambition and motivation meet persistence and drive, where your wildest dreams come true and even the greatest possibilities become realities. Listen to people just like you who stay authentic to who they are and master the art of their craft. Are you sharing the art of you? The art of you is music to my ears. Stay focused, stay on track. Create a new lifestyle with ambition and motivation. The AM Show. This episode is sponsored by the law firm of Marcella Dominguez. If you're an entrepreneur, business owner, or artist looking to protect your brand, then Marcella is right for you. Marcella has worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs like authors, clothing brands, Amazon sellers, consultants, and entertainers. Protecting your brand does not have to be tough. Let Marcella save your brand before your business name or slogan gets pulled out from under you. Go to marcellatm.com to learn more. So introduce yourself to everyone.
Well, great. I'm excited to have the opportunity to do this with you and share my story with more listeners and just kind of show how I got involved in or got started with the winery portion. But I grew up a farmer's daughter. So my dad was a farmer, and I'm fourth generation on the grape farming side. So my great-grandfather migrated here from northern Italy, and they settled into Paso Robles in the early 1920s. And in the 1920s, all the Italians in Paso Robles were planting vineyards. And so to assimilate and become part of the people of Paso Robles, they planted vineyards. So there's 140 acres planted right along the main interstate of the Highway 101 through Paso Robles in California that are planted with old vines in. So growing up, fourth generation grape farming, and my dad being his entire livelihood, I grew up in the middle of 100 acres of dirt that had planted vines on it. I mean, the vines touched my bedroom window. It was our playground. It was our livelihood. It was what I knew as home, was these vines and farming. So as a young girl, I had two older brothers, and I was so far younger than them that I had to entertain myself. So I loved tending the vineyards with my grandfather and my dad. And as we grew older, our vines and our grapes were very popular, and people wanted Dusi Zinfandel. And we were very synonymous with not high dollar, but very wanted grapes in the area. So I said, why don't we make wine, you guys? Everybody wants our grapes. Why not? They said, well, because we're farmers. We don't make wine. We farm, but I realized that's what they feel comfortable doing, and that's what they loved, and their passion was in the dirt, in the vineyards, farming these great grapes and selling the grapes to other wineries. Mm-hmm. So I started at a very, very young age, and taking a small amount of grapes every year and making it into wine. Seems all romantic and beautiful, but it's dirty, it's hard, it's hot, but I loved it. It was combining the passion of my family history and the traditions of farming, but now taking it a step further and taking it and making these great grapes into wine and putting it in a package that said J Dusi. Hey, this is a family member of the Dusi family actually making the wine and giving you a representation of our family vineyard. So it's grown quite a bit from there, but that's how I got started, just being fourth generation grape farmer and knowing that I wanted to take it further, take it to the next step. So now I have a tasting room right on the main thoroughfare of wineries here in Paso Robles, and making quite a bit of wine. And we're sitting in the cellar, and all the barrels behind me are either just emptied because we're getting ready to bottle, or full with aging wine.
Okay, so I mean, for people that are listening and who think to themselves, I love wine, I want to do what she did, where do you even start? I mean, I feel like you almost had an advantage because you were growing your own grapes.
I completely do. And, you know, in Paso Robles right now, there's almost 300 wineries, and everyone needs their own little niche kind of thing, a story, why you get into winemaking. And fortunately for me, I have this background and this history and this tradition here in Paso Robles with 4 generations of great farmers, and that's really rare. And so I feel fortunate that we did have these vines planted, but it takes a lot of generations of continuing the farming and the passion. And this is a day in, day out job of from the dirt to, you know, as we're in springtime right now and they're blooming, and there's so much mother nature things that can happen until we get our finished crop in August, September. And then it takes 2 years to get into the bottle, and then it takes a year to sell. So it's a long road of things. And but the determination of seeing it all the way through, and it really takes a passion behind it to do everything. But I do think that I do have a step up, and I do have the fortunate ability that the foundation was here for me, and I was able just to elaborate upon it. And yeah, but if you're going to start from ground zero, there's a lot of people doing that. They're going to college for viticulture and enology. Cal Poly San Luis Obispo has it. UC Davis and Fresno State here in California all have the program, and people can graduate with a degree in it and then get a job and work your way up. I do not have a degree in winemaking. I toured all these schools while I was in high school thinking that's what I'm going to do because I knew I wanted to make wine. And then going and visiting, I just said, you know what? I have generations that, you know, did this farming, and I had that on my side. So I went to school for something else, graduated, but I made wine every year in the garage, every year. So one thing about winemaking is that it's not just in the books, and it's not just winemaking by numbers. It is understanding the earth and the terroir that the vines are planted in, and what Mother Nature gives you in a given year can drastically change the fruit elements and the tannin structures. Everything about a wine happens because of Mother Nature. So I also am fortunate on the side that my dad has been an avid farmer our whole life. So he is so in tune with the grapes that I live on the vineyard. I live it and breathe it every single day. And to really watch it come to fruition from the grapes and the growing and the harvesting into the winemaking to barrel to aging into tanks and into the bottle.
So what has been like the single most challenging aspect of this entire journey?
I think the selling part. The selling, you can do all you want to make an amazing product, but unless you put yourself out there, and unless you have you can go and talk about it, and you're selling yourself, you're selling your story, you're selling ultimately what's in the bottle, the juice that's in there. You have to be able to get it to people's glasses. And in order to do that, it's a lot of, you got to be aggressive, you have to be confident in it, and you have to put yourself out there. Where this would be my grandfather's worst nightmare, is doing a video podcast or walking into a restaurant and being like, do you like my wine? Would you like to pour it for your guests? And they are just so one with nature and farmers that it does take a good balance. And that's what I love about my job, is that I can start my mornings in the vineyard, I can be here in the tasting room, I can be dirty head to foot making wine, and then in the spring I do a lot of my sales, so I travel and visit restaurants and wine shops and peddle my goods pretty much. So I think it takes an element. You can make a great bottle, but you have to be able to sell it.
Talk to us about that. Talk to us about the peddling. Does it still feel like peddling to you?
It does when I'm in the market selling. So we have a tasting room now, and when you're working in the tasting room, people come in and they're choosing to come to you, and wine tasting is fun, and wine makes usually people happy, and you have it because you're celebrating or because you're friends and family, usually with people. And so working in our tasting room, where we're open 7 days a week, is a pleasure. It's fun. We're surrounded by 100 acres of vineyards. It's beautiful. Hopefully the weather's great, and it just makes your day great. And so the selling in that part and working in the taste room is amazing, and just educating people about wine. But in that part, they're coming to you. They're choosing to come and taste and pay to taste and maybe buy some wine or enjoy outside. But the retail side of things, where you try to get your wine on a retail shelf or on a restaurant wine list or by the glass in a restaurant, which really does a lot of great things for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the hard part, because they have hundreds of thousands of people that want to be that white Pinot Grigio by the glass in the restaurant, because they'll go through a case a week.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard. And you have to, ultimately it's what's in the glass at that point, because you're not there telling your story to every customer that comes in. So, I've been in Monterey last week, over in the Valley this week, is in North Carolina last week, in Atlanta. And it's just the same thing. You go into six restaurants a day, and you just try to sell them on why your wine should be by the glass, or have a spot on their coveted wine list. And what I love is, and I notice having a tasting room, is that people are out having a glass of wine in a restaurant. If it's in Southern California or North Carolina, the next time they come to Paso Robles, they want to come by J Dusi. They want to come experience like I said, the romantic nature, surrounded by vineyards, having a glass of wine outside. So
Mm-hmm.
being in those wine lists and in those wine stores makes J Dusi top of mind. So when they are in Paso Robles, they'll come into the tasting room and, who knows, join the wine club and get wine delivery service to their house next time.
So I want to get into even more of the nitty gritty of what it's like to visit these restaurants. Do you call them first? Do you give them a heads up you're coming, or do you just walk in?
So I usually go to the ones where I have a distributor. So I have a distributor in California, North Carolina, Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, I should say. So like last week when I went over to Monterey, I got an appointment with my sales rep for that area. I meet him in a parking lot. I get in his car. I have my wine samples, and he has made the appointments because these are his everyday customers.
Mm-hmm.
But and that distributor, I ship my wines to them once a week, and then they do the deliveries to the little wine shops and restaurants. They do the billing. So it's by having just like a food or wine or soda distributor.
Uh-huh.
They're my distributor. So I ride around with my sales rep, and he either has appointments or will pop into places. But they also have a lot of people selling them their wares and their goods and their wine. So I hate to be in a line of salespeople, but most of the time it's interesting because I'm not on the road very often, and we do have that Dusi Zin that's a little more coveted kind of fruit. So hopefully they take the meeting with me, and I have about 20 minutes to 40 minutes to sell them on me and my wine, and why it should earn a place at their restaurant or their wine shop.
So does the sales rep kind of do a little bit of the back work for you, and then you kind of go in and try and seal the deal?
Kind of. So they can take me to places that might have carried my wine 2 years ago, and we lost the placement. I need to go in and try and recover it, or we might cold call somebody. I also was at dinner at a different restaurant without my sales rep, and I left the wine buyer a bottle of my wine, and I said, "Hey, I'm spending $150 in here for dinner, and I love your wine list. I would love a spot on the placement. Here's a bottle of wine to enjoy at home with your family, and if you like it, please let me know." So something like that could also work, where I'm doing that on my own. And yeah, I got word today that they took in 2 cases of the so I was like, all right. But I also said to my, after the text to my sales rep, "Hey, thanks for following up on that, because I don't live there, but I did visit them. I showed them support, and left them a whole bottle sample. So that's a little bit more. But yeah, you could do it either way. You could cold call, but I usually work with my distributor, and they set everything up, and I just go along. But it's a good 6-8 hour day of walking in place after place after place.
Hey, right. And that sounds tiring for some people who may not have the stamina to do that. They may think that they have a really awesome product, but I mean, there's also this back work that goes into it that you just described, and so you have to have stamina for that. Does the wine help keep up your stamina?
Yeah, right. You'd be surprised as this is my job, and it's so socially drinking, that it's like, yes, I get to go home and have water tonight. Like, it's like, that's exciting. But as far as the stamina and sales, I feel very fortunate that I don't have to be on the road doing sales all year long. As I said, I just got back from an East Coast tour of North Carolina and Georgia, and I go to Montana, all these places, and traveling on an airplane to go sell wine and into shop after shop and stay in a hotel. And it's daunting and it's a lot. And I love that part of it, but I also love that I don't have to do it all year long.
Right.
And I can be in the vineyard for part of the year. I can be dirty making wine and covered in grape skins from head to toe and have the tasting room. So I do love that it's different part of it. So you don't get burned out on sales, because really it should be fun, and it is fun if they don't have to do it every single day.
So what's your favorite part about what you do?
I feel that it is that I'm A to Z. So I am the owner, president, winemaker, but in doing that, I can have my hands into everything, but I'm starting to delegate more and more and hire real people that are, well, I have a big staff, but full-time salary people that can just really focus on one thing, because as I know, I can be spread really thin, and I want to have my fingers in a little bit of everything, because it's ultimately my name on the label and on the door. I realize that I can't be great at everything. So hiring the right people to take on certain jobs can make me focus on the winemaking a little bit more. And I do love that I can start my day in the vineyard and then come and be elbow deep in grape skins and making the wine. And there's a part of it being just outside and in the thick of it, you know, and not just writing work orders of what to do to the wine, and not feeling it and tasting it every day, which is what I do. So I feel that that's important.
Well, I can really tell just by the way you're talking and by, you know, your gestures that you really, really do have a passion for what you're doing. So when you're hiring people, how do you hire and make sure that they're going to have as much passion as you do for your business?
So I just hired a full-time tasting room manager, which is my first time. And I feel like I want to scream, but I'm happiness, but I'm also like want to shriek because I'm scared. But, you know, releasing that control of how I like everything. But, you know, in meeting the right person, I just knew. I knew it was recommendations from friends of, you know, of the references that were great. But things that I know that I want to see portrayed that I'm too shy or nervous to do as far as staffing. That's my worst. I hate the staffing part. And, you know, I love that we have men on our team, but not, you know, all women. And, you know, because we're in a small section where we have a lot of staff to run a tasting room 7 days a week and deal with crowds for 200 people on the weekend. So there's a lot of them. And I just realized that my best time is not working individually with the staff as far as like scheduling and communication and stuff. I need to be doing other things. So when we sat down to interview someone for this tasting room manager, it just kind of clicked. And I said, yes, that's what I want to say, really confident to them. And I can't. So finding somebody that can do the roles that I don't feel comfortable doing.
That's awesome. That's awesome, because it is hard to hire. And especially when you have such a business that requires such a deep focus on everything you were just describing, like the grapes and the change of seasons, and then the business aspect, and, you know, delegating as well, because I'm sure they'll have to be delegating as well. So, so it's hard. I can respect that. It's hard.
Yeah. And it makes everyone, if everyone's doing it, you build a good team, everyone will lift each other up. And I think it'll only go in a forward momentum from here. And a big thing in hiring this tasting room manager, I was like, I feel like I'm just trying to keep up right now, but we should be forward thinking and building a team around me that helps put my ideas and other outside ideas, but think forward business motivation, momentum going that way, rather than just trying to keep up and
right. Right. And I remember, you know, I listened to a couple of entrepreneurs podcasts, and, you know, I strongly remember them saying you should work on your business and not in your business. And it sounds like, you know, hiring this manager has been that for you. It's going to allow you to have more of an aerial objective view, as opposed to being in the business all the time.
That's what I'm looking forward to. I'm excited about it. She hasn't started yet. It's real new. So, but to do this, and yeah, that's how I just described it to the remaining staff, was like, we're just trying to keep up these days. And we need to look to the future now and figure out, what are our next steps? So, it's been fun and exciting. So hopefully it works out amazingly.
So let's see, on days that you really feel like you need a pick me up, or you need just that boost of energy, is there music that you listen to like when you're out in the vineyard, or what music or what artist like really is a motivator?
Oh my gosh. I did not grow up with like a crazy music household, but I love music, and I just something upbeat. I love I do like country music too, but it's not the only thing I listen to. But out when you're in the vineyard and you're driving your tractors and stuff like that, it's actually it is fun, and to listen to country as well. But I think just upbeat music. I love having it on the crush pad really loud. I do like Spanish music too.
Uh-huh.
I like a little bit of everything, but I'm not like you would be really embarrassed to see my Spotify account. It has like one person. Like I can't figure out how to use it. So I am not that tech savvy, but definitely more hands-on and the labor side of things. But music, anything loud and with the, fast pace is good.
Can you think of one that just like comes to mind right away and sing a tune for us?
Oh no, I can't sing. No. I'm making wine. I'm more of a farmer than a singer.
You make wine, not music. Okay, I get it. All right, I got it. So are there any last words that you want to share with our listeners? Just any kind of motivational advice. If they're looking to, like I said, get into what you are doing, what can you offer them?
I think being an entrepreneur, it takes a lot. It's really hard up battle. And I entered my first wine competition when I was 13 years old. And it was an amateur winemaking contest. And I look back at my like, Mom, you let me like drop off my wine and enter the, she's like, I know, it wasn't a big deal back then. It was like, that's what you wanted to do. That's what you were interested in. She's like, I look back at it nowadays and think, what was I thinking? Letting you go with mentors when you're 16 years old to these men's wine classes. But I was persistent, and I knew inside that's what I wanted to do. And I just kept doing it little by little and small amounts at a time. But to focus on, really think what's inside, what's my burning desire inside, and to pursue it, and keep growing on it has gotten me to where I am today, and having, a big staff and a great location and open 7 days a week and doing really well. And I think it takes looking inside and knowing like what is really what I wanted to do, because as a woman in the industry that's predominantly men, it can happen, and don't have any hurdles that you can't get over if it's really meant to be inside.
Well, I can tell you that I really love the fact that gender wasn't brought up, but I'm going to bring it up now, and I'm going to say that I absolutely love the fact that when I get to interview female entrepreneurs who are going places and who are already in places that they didn't even believe that they would end up in, it continues to inspire me as well. And so I never want, I love what you said, because I never want females to think, well, it's a male dominated industry, I don't stand a chance, so I'm not even going to, step in those waters. But it wasn't even a second thought for you. I mean, you just did it because it was your passion. And I love that. It should be like that for every single entrepreneur. I mean, you should be there and be doing what you love because it's a passion, not because you're daunted by all of these potential challenges.
Or potential challenges of being 9 years under the legal drinking age. I know.
Yeah,
I'm like, Mom,
just a big one.
Yeah, she was just like, I don't know. That's what you wanted to do. And it didn't, it wasn't blending and tasting and drinking a lot. I was just showing the natural progression of wine.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think so. And to not have anything hold you back is really important.
Well, I love it. And I loved your story. So tell everyone where they can buy your wines.
In California, in Southern California, we're in all the pavilions, like Vaughn's and pavilions down there. A couple states, if you ask for J Dusi wines. Otherwise, we have a tasting room in Paso Robles, California, which is right in the Central Coast. About 300 other wineries here too, so you can make a girls' weekend out of it, a romantic weekend out of it. And we're just open 7 days a week, and we have a great patio and wine tasting where you can just try an array of wines, educate on more other varietals, and great restaurants here, and the ocean's so close, so it's a great vacation spot.
So do you ship?
We do ship. We ship to about 48 states, and I'm in Montana, Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, California, and we can ship to every other state, most of them.
So where can we order online? What's the site?
JDusiWines.com. It's JDUSI wines.
Perfect. Yeah, and we'll put that up on the screen. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing all of that with our listeners, and I hope to have you back in about a year or so and give us an update as to those new ideas you had.
Awesome. I'd love it. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.